This is my 2001 X Type 2.5 V6 Petrol Manual. It's the very first model and it's the very basic model, and you may notice that it doesn't have any rear parking sensors. Well, this is the reverse parking system that I've got. It's made by Streetwise Accessories, and it was actually bought from a garden centre at a knockdown price of 15 quid. But I know that these are really good systems because we fitted one of these on my dad's car, which is a Ford Cougar, 7 years ago, and it's still working as when it fitted. So in the kit you get the sensors, you get the controller, you get the LED readout, and you also get a hole saw. Now, I really did not want to cut holes in my Jaguar, so I found a way around that. So I went on eBay and I was able to buy a brand new rear trim with all the mounting points already in it for £35. Well, you can tell by the condition of it that it has never been used. It is in excellent condition. It has got a time clock on it there, which, if I've read right, means this was manufactured in November 2004. And it's also got the sockets for the sensors in it. I don't know if I'm going to need those or I'm going to have to adapt them for the system that I'm going to use, but that's nice to know. One of the main worries or difficulties was going to be whether the sensor that comes in the kit is going to fit into the bumper. But I found that it fits perfectly. Goes straight in. I've fitted each sensor and bundled up the wires with a little cable tie that comes with them. Now I need to go and take off the one that's on the car. The centre part of the panel is held in with these plastic push fittings, which hopefully shouldn't be too difficult to get out. However, the two corner fittings are held in with these, and that is rusty as hell, and I think that's going to fail. It's also in a very difficult position to get at. This is the underside of the exhaust pipe, and the fitting itself is just inside there, and you need to come at it from the other side. So this might be more difficult than it looks. And this is the one on the other side, and you can see that that's really rusty as well. So that's going to be difficult to get out. With these plastic fittings, you're supposed to undo the middle, but what you find is it won't undo, and it just starts to muller itself, or the whole thing goes round. So the easiest way is to actually just pull them out. I managed to get these fasteners off without damaging them, and I put the tip of a screwdriver under the flange, prised them out a bit, and then I used my garden weeder, 2 quid from the garden centre, to just pop them out, and they can go back in. So in order to get this off, I've done a trick that I've done before, where you heat up the fastening with the angle grinder to get to the point where you can actually pull the washer through the moulding. And you end up with a bigger hole, but all you need is a bigger washer, and then it can be put back together. And now this comes off. It wasn't going to come off any other way. Just quickly looking at the one that I bought, it has these push tags all the way along, which must be holding it in. So hopefully I can just now pop the whole thing off. So the corner's out, and it looks to me like this should just pull out. I have to be careful doing it, because you can see that it doesn't really want to come out, does it? Right, so you need to push down onto the top of each tag as you come to it. So that you don't break the moulding inside. Yeah, okay, so sliding the screwdriver along, pushing down. just get it on the top of the tags, then they pop out. There we go. See the state of that fixing, that was never going to undo, was it? I'm now left with a bigger hole, but 2 washers will sort that out. This all needs to be cleaned. The groove here is filthy, that all needs to be cleaned out. And then the new one can go on. Now the new rear trim didn't come with this plastic panel, and this is something that you pop out of the way when you want to use the towing eye. So I shall just prise that off. In fact, it just popped out in my hand. It is supposed to be held on with this through that hole, but I think I just pulled it out by accident. That just needs a really good clean and that can go back on. Right, the next thing is to work out how to get the wires into the car. So if we go underneath here and look up just here, you can see there's a rubber grommet. The rubber grommet's obviously been put there for a purpose, and it's most likely that it's for the wiring to the sensors. It could also be used for wiring to a tow bar. I've taken the carpeted panel out, and if we look down here where the tow bar eye is and go down underneath it, there's a harness here, and the grommet is just beside it, just here. This harness is probably for the sensors, so if your car is fitted with the sensors, that's where it's going to be connected. I've cable tied the wires in place using quite thick cable ties. The thin ones will wear through the wires, and I brought it along here and then into the middle of the car. Just need to cut those tails off, and I also need to tape this part down because this has got to come in and up and over the aperture for where the exhaust pipe is. I'm sticking this in with gaffer tape, which is very sticky and very long lived, and a tip is to stick it to the cable first. Also put a little roll over at one end in case you have to peel it back off, and cut it down to the right width and then stick it in, and then that works a treat. So using a very sharp knife, which in this case is a scalpel, we'll cut a slot in the grommet, which is actually quite soft. The power source for the system comes from the reversing light, which is behind this panel. So I need to take out this back panel, which is held on with the plastic fixings, and then lift out this panel. So we'll do that now. Right, all the fasteners are out, so it should just kind of lift out like that. Oh, that was easy. Right, so I'm just feeding each cable through one at a time, so you have to make sure that you've made your hole big enough. And what I've actually done is cut a cross in the grommet, so it's easy to pass each one through. There we go, that's all 4 pulled through now. We'll get them to more or less the same length, and then we can put the moulding back on the back of the car. In order to get this back on, I need to get a fitting that fits in this speed fastener, which has got a machined thread. And what I actually want is a nut so that I can undo it with a spanner, because I can't get on it with a screwdriver. So I'm going to look through my collection of stuff, my man drawer, and find what fits it. Well, I found the right size bolt, and that fits perfectly, and I can do it up with a spanner from the side because I can't get onto the end of it that way. I've also coincidentally found 2 brackets that I made for something which fit perfectly over the enlarged holes that I've made in the bodywork, so I can use these as washers. They're made of galvanised steel, they'll probably outlast the car. Just pop that in first, just clicking them in. Well, you have to pull the cables through to make sure they don't snag, and make sure these points are locating correctly, and then these parts here, the little tags, you actually just have to bang them in, and it is like that, just like you see on the TV where they bang it all together and it all goes together exactly right. And then we need to screw in the ends there. Right on the corner of the moulding there's a little spigot that has to go into the hole just above there to locate it so that it's in the correct position, and then you can put the bolt through and do it up. And now, because I've used a nut, I can just get at it with a spanner to do it up nice and tight. Still a bit fiddly. Right where the rear trim's back on and the sensors are all in place. So if you've been watching this video because you needed to repair the sensors, this is the end of your bit. I now need to wire up the kit that I've bought.